They will tell you you're crazy. They will say you're not ready. They'll remind you of every time you failed, every time you cracked, every time you almost made it, but didn't. And you know what? They might be right. You have failed, you have fallen short, you have broken down and questioned if you were ever built for this. But what they don't see, or what they can't understand, is that underneath every scar, every setback, every sleepless night, there is a belief inside you that refuses to die. A belief so relentless, so unshakable, so irrational to the outside world, that it keeps you breathing fire long after most would have quit. This isn't about hype. This isn't about motivation. This is about that quiet, stubborn knowing that you were meant for something more. And that belief? That's the birthplace of everything. It is the invisible hand that rewrites your story when the world says, stay down. It is the voice that says, keep going, when logic says, give up. It is the root of every empire, the fuel behind every reinvention, the force that built civilizations from thin air. Belief is not a feeling, it's not a trend, and it's not something you tap into when things are good. It's what you hold when everything is crumbling and no one believes but you. Ask Edison. He didn't light up the world because he was lucky. He did it because he believed, after 1,000 failures, that there had to be a way. Ask Oprah. Rejected, fired, told she didn't belong on TV, and yet something inside her screamed, I do. Ask Lincoln, who lost more elections than most have confidence. Ask Disney, whose dreams were laughed out of every bank in town. They weren't stronger, they weren't smarter, they were just more relentless, because belief isn't about evidence, it's about decision. A decision to back yourself when the scoreboard says 0. A decision to move when fear freezes you in place. A decision to stand in the fire and keep building anyway. But here's what no one tells you. Belief is lonely, belief is quiet. Belief doesn't clap, it doesn't go viral, it doesn't show up in your bank account right away. It lives in the dark, in the moments when you whisper to yourself, this is not where my story ends. And it's not, because when belief becomes identity, you stop negotiating with your destiny. You stop making deals with comfort. You stop asking for validation from people who were never meant to understand your vision. Belief is not just what moves mountains. It's what builds the strength to carry your own when no one offers to help. It's the difference between those who dream and those who become. And yes, belief will cost you. It will cost you the approval of the average. It will cost you the comfort of settling. It will cost you the illusion of safety. But what it gives you is everything. A mission, a reason, a fire that doesn't flicker in the wind but roars through the storm. Because once you believe without doubt, without apology, without retreat, you become unbreakable. Not because you'll never get hit again, but because you'll never stay down again. The truth is, the world doesn't reward the most talented. It rewards the most committed. The ones who show up when it's hard. The ones who trust the process when it's invisible. The ones who walk by faith, not by applause. And you don't need another pep talk. You need to remember who you are. You were not born to crawl through life, doubting your worth, begging for permission. You were not born to chase dreams only when they're trending. You were born to declare your future, with your chest out, your soul on fire, and your heart locked on the vision. That is belief, not soft, not shaky. Steel, fire, warrior-level conviction, the kind of belief that walks into a room and changes the temperature, that enters a storm and smiles, knowing the storm will pass, but you will remain. Because when you believe, truly believe, you don't need guarantees, and you become the guarantee. When belief settles deep into your bones, you stop flinching at failure. You stop worshiping comfort. You stop chasing applause from people whose names you won't even remember 10 years from now. Because belief sharpens your vision. It teaches you to focus not on the noise, not on the critics, not on the metrics, but on the mission. And when your mission is clear, distractions die. You don't scroll for hours hoping to feel something. You create something. You don't copy what the world is doing. You lead where the world is going. Look at every revolutionary who ever lived. They weren't following blueprints. They were building their own. Not because they were sure it would work, but because they were sure they couldn't live without trying. That's the essence of relentless belief. It's not about being fearless. It's about choosing the mission over the fear every single time. And if you think belief means life gets easier, you've misunderstood the assignment. Belief doesn't make the mountain disappear. It makes you powerful enough to climb it. Belief doesn't erase the obstacles. It makes you obsessed enough to break through them. There will be days you question everything. Nights when the vision feels so far away it might as well be fiction. There will be rejection, confusion, silence. But belief, real belief, doesn't need a cheering section. It doesn't ask for a map. It becomes the compass. And in those moments, when your back is against the wall and no one claps, no one helps, no one sees, you'll realize something profound. You are still standing. You are still breathing. You are still in the fight. That's when belief becomes transformation. Because it's no longer about achieving a goal. It's about becoming someone who can't be broken. Someone who shows up when others check out. Someone who leads when others follow. Someone who chooses destiny over delay. And yes, you'll lose people along the way. Friends who don't understand why you've changed. Family who tells you to be realistic. Co-workers who wonder why you don't play small anymore. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. You didn't come this far to explain yourself. You came to evolve. You came to trade the false security of fitting in for the unshakable power of standing out. You came to live in such alignment with your vision that the world has no choice but to move around you. That is the gravity of belief. It's magnetic, it's violent, it disrupts mediocrity, it shakes you out of sleepwalking through life and demands that you show up fully or not at all. And you know the most dangerous thing about belief? It spreads. One person who believes with full conviction becomes a mirror for others, a spark, a leader, a walking revolution. Because when someone really believes in themselves, they give others permission to do the same. So when you rise, you don't rise alone. When you believe without limits, you don't just rewrite your story. You give others a reason to pick up the pen again. And maybe that's why you were given this vision in the first place. Not just to change your life, but to ignite 1,000 others, to become a lighthouse for those lost in doubt, to become a storm breaker for those drowning in excuses, to become the proof that belief can build anything, not someday, not eventually, but right now, because belief, when it's relentless, doesn't wait for the world to agree. It moves and the world follows. Belief alone is not enough. It is the spark, but discipline is the flame. Discipline is what carries belief through the storm, through the fatigue, through the days when nothing makes sense and the dream feels miles away. Because belief without discipline is a wish. It's a promise with no proof. It's potential with no execution. And the graveyard is full of people who believed they could, but never did. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. It's the part no one sees. The early mornings, the late nights, the reps you put in when your legs are shaking and your voice is tired. It's choosing the hard thing again and again and again because you said you would. Relentless belief without relentless action is nothing. But when you combine the two, when belief burns in your soul and discipline moves through your hands, you become a force the world cannot ignore. That's how the legends did it. Do you think Carnegie succeeded because he wanted it more? Number, he executed more. Do you think Ford revolutionized transportation with just an idea? Number, he showed up in the factory day after day before the world even knew his name. Your vision means nothing if you won't get your hands dirty. Your dreams are empty if they never make it onto the battlefield. You have to bleed belief into what you do. It has to touch your calendar, your habits, your identity. Because until your actions reflect your belief, it's just noise. You want to change your life? Then change your standards. What time you wake up, what you tolerate. What you expect from yourself when no one's holding you accountable. That's what separates those who fantasize from those who manifest. Not affirmations, Not books, not talk, execution. And I'll tell you this, your life will never outgrow your habits. Your habits are the votes you cast for who you're becoming. Every decision is a ballot. Every choice is a brick. And one day you'll wake up surrounded by the house you built, with discipline or without it. So ask yourself, what are you building? What are your daily rituals silently turning you into? Because greatness doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates. One decision, one refusal to quit. One day where you showed up when everything told you to stay down. That's when the shift happens. When belief isn't just a word in your mouth, it's a truth in your body. You move like you believe. You walk like it's done. You speak like the future is yours, and you're just catching up to it. That's the power of relentless belief backed by relentless action. You stop hoping. You start knowing. And when you know, the world starts moving out of your way. Not because it's easier, but because you've become unshakable. Because now, belief isn't something you practice. It's something you are. When belief becomes identity, you start seeing life differently. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop asking for ease. You begin to crave clarity, not comfort. And clarity is ruthless. Clarity strips away distractions. It exposes the lies you've told yourself to stay small. It removes the masks. It confronts the noise. It forces you to admit you are either building your destiny or escaping it. Most people are not lost. They're just distracted. They scroll instead of reflect. They talk instead of decide. They drown in movement that leads nowhere. But the ones who rise, the ones with relentless belief, they move with aim. They don't waste time chasing validation. They don't need 10 opinions before they act. They live with the fire of inner direction. Because when you're clear on who you are and where you're going, the world has less power over you. You can't be manipulated when you already know your mission. You can't be seduced by comfort when your soul is loyal to the vision. And yes, it will hurt, and growth always does. But belief gives you the ability to bear it. It gives you resilience, not the kind you post about, the kind you bleed for. Real resilience doesn't show up in the spotlight. It's forged in silence. It's built in the days when your goals seem ridiculous, your effort seems wasted, and your faith is the only thing still standing. That's when most people fold. When it gets dark, when it gets slow, when no one claps. That's when they start rewriting the dream to make it smaller, safer, more realistic. But not you, because you've been there before. You've sat in the dark. You've been told you can't. And every time you rose anyway. Not because it was easy, but because your belief was louder than your fear. And every time you get back up, the world takes notice. Not immediately, but inevitably. Because nothing is more terrifying to the mediocre than someone who refuses to quit. Nothing shakes the system more than someone who keeps moving forward, regardless. You want to become powerful? Then learn how to suffer with purpose. Learn how to fall without losing your fire. Learn how to break and rebuild over and over until the world stops seeing your cracks and starts recognizing your craft. Because the path to greatness isn't straight. It's wild. It's ugly. It's full of pain, confusion, betrayal, reinvention. But that is what makes it beautiful. And only those who believe without conditions. Those who refuse to demand guarantees before they give effort. Only they survive the storm and come out forged in clarity, purpose, and fire. So when life hits you, not if, when, don't ask, why me? Ask, who am I becoming because of this? That's the question that changes everything, because now the pain has a direction. The setback has a structure, and your belief, once again, proves that nothing can stop a soul on fire. There's a point you reach on this journey where turning back isn't even an option anymore. Not because you made it, but because you've become someone who refuses to settle. You've looked the old version of yourself in the eye and said, you are no longer in charge. And that is the true reward of relentless belief. Not the money, not the fame, not the applause, identity. To know to know without question that you've been shaped in fire and came out steel, that the vision you once whispered about, you now walk in, that you no longer chase greatness because you've become the kind of person who attracts it, not with luck, but with alignment, not with hype, but with habits. And when you operate from that level of conviction, everything changes. You don't need to force the world to see you. It will. You don't need to demand success. You command it by your presence, because relentless belief doesn't ask. It declares. And the world moves for those who walk like the outcome is already done. That's how revolutions begin. That's how legacies are born. That's how one person, one soul on fire, changes everything. And that person, that's you. You who refused to stay silent. You who showed up again when you had every reason to stay down. You who turned every scar into strength, every loss into learning, every no into a new door. You who believed, not once, not when it was easy, but every single time you were tested. That belief has remade you. You're not just chasing the life you want. You're building it in real time. And brick by brick, breath by breath, you're proving that nothing is more powerful than a mind that refuses to surrender. Not fear, not rejection, not time, not failure, nothing. Because you've become the one thing the world can't control, relentless. So now, there's only one thing left to do. Go. Go build the thing they said was impossible. Go become the person you once only saw in your dreams. Go rise so completely that the old version of you doesn't even recognize this new one. Go live a life that leaves no doubt. You believed, and because of that belief, everything changed. And when it's all said and done, when the lights go out, when the audience disappears, when no one is left to clap or comment or validate, only one question will remain. Did you become who you were meant to be? Not what the world told you to be, not what fear tried to reduce you to, but the real you, the highest you, the uncompromising you. Because that version of you, the one built through storms, silence, setbacks, and sacred belief, that version is still waiting. Right now, in the space between your doubt and your decision. In the moments you avoid, in the pain you pretend doesn't matter, in the work you know you need to do. That version of you isn't asking for perfection. They're asking for a choice to no longer betray your own potential, a choice to no longer hide behind delay, a choice to wake up, look in the mirror, and finally say, I'm ready to step out of the shadow of fear, ready to stop playing small just because small is safe. Ready to stop waiting for the right moment and become the moment. Because belief without action is just noise, and a life unlived is the loudest regret of all. So walk, run, crawl if you must, but move. Let the world feel your weight. Let the universe hear your voice. Let your life be the evidence, not the excuse. You don't need more time. You don't need more approval. You don't need more credentials. You need one thing. Relentless belief, followed by relentless movement. That's how legacies are built. That's how revolutions are born. That's how you become undeniable. So go, not someday, not soon, now, because belief is not a concept. It's a command, and your time has come to obey it.